to make sure.
And Lisa, just give me a little nod. Oh, well, I guess we'll get started then. Good evening. I hope everybody's doing well. We are very excited tonight to bring you our book club with Mary Alice Monroe and talking about the summer of Lost and Found with you this evening. I'm Brenda Gardner, and I'm in South Carolina, and my lovely co-host Lisa is in Atlanta. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, guys. I'm so excited for tonight.
Oh, me too. And we're here to talk about, as I said, Mary Alice Monroe and the Summer of Lost and Found, and sneak in a little discussion about her middle grade novel, The Islanders, which everybody is talking about.
I love this book.
So let me give Mary Alice a little introduction. Mary Alice is the New York Times bestselling author of more than 27 books, including the Beach House series, which we know a little bit about, the Beach House Swimming Lessons, Beach House Memories, Beach House for Rent, Beach House Reunion, On Ocean Boulevard, and her latest, The Summer of Lost and Found. More than 7.5 million copies of her books have been published worldwide, and she's earned numerous accolades and awards, including induction into the South Carolina Academy of Authors Hall of Fame, the Southwest Florida Author of Distinction Award, South Carolina Award for Literary Excellence, RT Lifetime Achievement Award, the International Book Award for Green Fiction, and the prestigious Southern Book Prize for Fiction. Even with all these accolades, we know her best as one of the Fab Five, our friends in fiction author, podcaster, and author extraordinaire. So welcome, Mary Alice.
Oh, that was quite a mouthful. Thank you. And that's me back there, how I usually look. With on the my book is covering it, but here, let me show you.
We can kind of see.
That's me. I'm holding a turtle. That's me in my happy place. Yeah.
Well, that deserves a standing ovation, that introduction there. So, yay.
Well, we're very excited, as I said, to talk with you tonight. And I almost don't even know where to start when we start talking about the Summer of Lost and Found, because the Beach House series is so near and dear to our readers. And the cast of characters you have developed, and I guess the generations of characters you've developed, are like dear friends to our readers.
But
for those of you for those of us watching who may not have read it yet, could you give us a quick summary, and then we'll get into some of the more details of the family?
Yes, of the whole series, just like a brief, it's 20 years in the making. So, it's an amazing series, and one that I actually never intended it to be a series. I wrote a book called The Beach House, and I knew this was back in, I started working with turtles in 98. And it was published in 2002. And I knew I wrote something different than anything I'd ever written or had read. And what I do, I kind of created a system because I wanted to let people know about the turtles, but I'm a novelist. I'm a storyteller. I didn't want it to be a novel about turtles, because who wants to read that for fiction, right? So, and I had written 5 novels previously, and they'd all been about women's lives and families. So I knew I would stay in that vein, but instead of being inspired by outside motifs, I chose to study the species really well and say, what did I learn from the species that I could parallel in human life? And an example would be a sea turtle. It's a reptile. She digs a nest 20 inches down, comes out of the sea, which is her home. And don't forget, when she swims beautifully in the sea. And I use that parallel a lot throughout the series about what beautiful swimmers they are. But when they're on land, they have 300 pounds of shell on their back. So they crawl with a painstaking crawl across the beach, risking life in them, following instinct to lay the nest, that maternal drive. And she digs her nest, lays her eggs, some 50 to 150, covers them up, and goes back out to the sea, and she'll never return to that nest. Now, she's done her duty, her biological model, but what I look at then as a novelist is I look at that and say, what story, what parallel? And in human terms, as mammals, we nurture our young because we only have one maybe 2 or 3. I mean, we're mammals. Reptiles have predator glut. Fish, they have lots of eggs. So it's different. But as a human quality, we look at abandonment. So I knew that one of the issues in the story would be abandonment. One would be return home after a long time, because the sea turtle returns to the beach of its birth at maturity, which is 20 some years. The reason I say that is I know now it's 28, 29, but at the time I wrote the book, scientists thought it was 20. So I made it a 20-year absence. So I've done that with all these stories. And in The Beach House, it's the story of a girl who comes home. She's an old historic family in Charleston, South Carolina. And there's a reason she left, and it's because she had an abusive father, not physical, he did hit her, but more verbally, and he was verbally abusive to her mother. And she was estranged and felt abandoned because her mother never protected her. So that's the back history. She comes home because she gets a letter from her mother, Lovey, the quintessential Southern woman from downtown in Charleston, South Carolina. But her sanctuary was the beach house where she could escape and tend turtles. It's the summer of a reconciliation, and it's the final summer of the mother's life. And in that summer, Kara just falls in love and decides to, more importantly for herself, decides to stay home. So from that, I created another book when we started a sea turtle hospital in the aquarium. And I said, I'm going to write about that too, because I was one of the ones who started the hospital. And I said, well, I'm going to use the same family. So I thought maybe 2 books, a sequel. And then anytime I had something to say, I just went back to this family, because I had so many people who loved the Rutledge family.
Yes.
And it worked. When something works and you get the feedback, you stay with it. And it's my home. It's where I live. And I am a turtle lady. I still am 22 years later. So the series is 20 years this year, and 2022, I should say, it's 20 years. And I've never written every year, but there are 7 books over the course of 20 years. Do you hear that? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's okay.
They're sharing their
Life.
enthusiasm.
Yes. So I like to say that this series, each book is a standalone. And the reason is as an author, I know what I'm doing. I write a beginning, a middle, and an end, and I know just enough back history to create what it is I want to say in that story, this novel. But if you read the whole series, and you grow up with these characters. Kara's gone from 40 to 60. Little Linnea was like 6 or 7 or 8. I forget exactly at the first book. She's 25 in this book. We've watched her grow up. So I think that's a familiarity and like you said, an affection for this family. And for those who just read this book, if they like it, they tend to go back and catch up. And it's not over. I know I'm not writing one now. I have a couple other books I want to get under my belt first. But
we're looking for that news.
Okay, I'll tell you a little bit. But with Summer of Lost and Found, though, I knew I wanted to introduce the next generation, because on Ocean Boulevard really was Kara coming full circle. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't going to do it in 2020, but the COVID hit. And so here I am sitting up in this mountain house up in North Carolina, where I was sheltering in place. And I decided this is a time like no other. This is an epic moment in our history. And I wanted to chronicle it. And to my mind, ooh, thunder. Do you hear the thunder? We're just getting storms. It's all coming in. I hope I don't lose power, guys. They just
Me too. I hope you don't. I don't lose power.
Yeah, right. Time. Here in Camden, it's coming our way, Brenda. It's coming
That's
right. Our way. So anyway, I was up there, and I knew it was important, and I wrote about families, and I wasn't going to get on a plane and research these animals, whales that I was planning on researching. And it just hit me that if I was going to write about a families in a time, it would be the Rutledge family, because we all know them so well. We can identify with them. We feel for them, and it's multi-generational. Everything seemed to come together. And I always say, whenever I look at a book, when things dovetail, I'm supposed to write that book. It's time. So I had, in this family, in the last book, I had David, who went to England a lot. I had the younger brother who's over in Oxford studying. And then I had Gordon, a lot of England. I don't know. Maybe because I was in England myself, I just kind of fell in love when I wrote the last book. I was in England. Gordon's the lover, and he's over there. And then here on Isle of Palms, we had Flo, who was getting older, and her Alzheimer, which had been getting worse and worse, was declaring itself now. You had Emmy, who always takes care of everybody. Emmy's there. I need to give Emmy a turn. I really do. And then, of course, Kara now, who's the matriarch of the family, and her adopted daughter, Hope, who's 6. So I had a lot of ages. And then I brought out Linnea in force. So it just seemed to be the right time to write the story, but it was hard work to write this book.
I'm sure it was. And that is one thing we wanted to ask you about, because I know that you wrote it basically in real time as events were developing. And
yes,
in the acknowledgments, you wrote that what you wrote in April, you found out something different in July, and then you found out something different in November. Could you talk about that a little bit? And then I'm gonna take some questions that were in advance.
Honestly, I was writing on the seat of my pants, a pantser, truly. And that's not me. It's not me.
Not your comfortable place.
Yeah, not my comfort zone. It was hard. But also because my outline hit the trash. I mean, I had to look at what was happening in my life and in my daughter's life, who was living in my house on Isle of Palms with their kids. And that reflected all those mothers who were teaching their kids at home. And then I had my husband's mother-in-law was dying, and my brother was dying, and we weren't able to see them. And it was that whole idea of we were afraid for our lives. It was reality that people were dying by the hundreds of thousands. So the young people, then my niece was living with me, and she was 30. Her life was at a standstill. She couldn't date. She couldn't have a job. She had nothing. And she was staying in my house as a true shelter. Then this is where the idea for the Linnea giving up space to the house came from. It was my life. I called my sister my sister was in Chicago. She was a therapist, couldn't work. I said, don't get stuck in that. She had a condo in the city, and there was trouble in the city because of the George Floyd and the riots in the city. I said, come on to North Carolina and live with me in the mountains. And then my other sister, Ruthie, in California, same thing. So I said, get out of LA. You're locked in there. Come to the mountains. And so it was like this house with everyone coming to stay. So that's what Linnea did in the book. And I can see in retrospect where, I was writing as fast as I could, trying to make sense of it. And even the quarantine sort of fell into place, with the two lovers, the triangle, that fell into place. But when it came to finishing the book, girls, I didn't know what I was going to do, because I always liked to know the end and work towards it. I didn't know how it was going to end. And that scared me, because I was learning. I was Linnea. And to be honest with you, in the love triangle, which set up for page turning, and it makes it a fun story. You always love some romance in a book. But I never wanted it to be a choice between two men, because I have 2 daughters, and I've told my daughters, you don't ever wait for a man to save you. You take care of yourself. What is it you want? And so that conversation with her mentor, Kara, was so important in the stories from the beginning to the end. And once it clicked, when Kara says, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? The ending fell into place and I knew what she had to do. And she made her, I mean, it was all like, pop, 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 pop.
And that really shone, it shined through in the course of the book. That was
Oh,
a
thank
really,
you.
cohesive element in it. I'd like to I think that segues us right into a question you asked on the book club page a little bit earlier, I think today. I'd like to ask our book club members if they would like to respond to this in the chat, and maybe we'll be able to read some of them. I know people responded in real time, but I want to ask our readers, as Mary Alice said, 2020 was the year like no other. And what new habits have you started? And what books
Oh,
helped you get
yeah.
through the new year? And we'll take some of those then. But I also, while people are answering that, and I know, Lisa, I'm sure you'll have some coming up, but I wanted to share something with you, Mary Alice, from a book club member. It's Kay Shaw Eckenrode. I just think this is an important point to share with you as an author. She said, I have the feeling that this is going to be a really important book to look back on from years to come. Right now, we're just getting over the pandemic, so the issues are all things we recently dealt with. In 5 or 10 years, people will be able to look back on this as not just a good book, but a book that takes you through a very historic moment in time.
Oh,
Good
thank
stuff.
you. Wow.
And I think that's
Thank
so
you.
important.
Yeah, I think that's what I was hoping for, that a book of reflection. It's just why I do think it's a good book. I'm glad we're in a book club. I think it's a book club discussion book, because we will not even remember today what we went through, all those things. The quarantine, what was a big deal, quarantine. I remember going home to pick up my dogs, and my children were there, and my sisters were so afraid of their lone lives that they made me not wear a mask in my own house, because everyone was afraid, right? Oh, good gosh. Can you make a comment? I'm going to close my office door because the kids are getting wild downstairs. Hold on.
Okay, we certainly can. And Lisa, do we have any responses yet?
There are a couple coming through, yes.
I have to tell you,
that was quick.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, I just have to say, I apologize.
No.
But my dog, my big old Bernese mountain dog, walked in. She didn't ask for. Boom! The doors opened up, and I heard all the noise downstairs. So excuse me. Welcome to my world.
Oh, I was gonna share a comment from one of our book club members, Rhonda. She said, "You did an exceptional job with the COVID reality. I have not read any other authors this year who were so brave with such a hard topic." And you did so
thank
well.
you. Well, I'm really so grateful to hear that, because I thought I was being clever, but I think part of it was I was also naive, because it was like I said, there was so much to deal with as an author for my characters, but also because, excuse me, in all honesty, I think I look for something that I've learned from the process when I write a novel, especially when it's set against animals. What have I learned? I create a theme, and there's something I want to say that I learned in the course of my work, through plot, through story, through all this. And even though this was a different setup, I wanted to figure out what it was I wanted to share with everybody. And it was hard, because I was in a roller coaster. Yeah. And it was going back out on the beach, and it was that scene with Kara and Linnea, when I was reminded about how precious we were. It was after, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but the subsequent, what happened to everybody, it was really about, wow, we are so fortunate to have today. We are so, and that whole, the visual If there was one visual, this would be it. It's the visual of the beach when it's untrammeled first thing in the morning, when you get there at dawn. And really no one's walked on it. And you know, in as little as 30 minutes, there'll be dog tracks and people tracks and joggers. But at the early dawn, it's pure. And that's your footprint is the first one. And that's a decision. And that's the image of when we come out of this COVID, when we're all opening up now. What are we going to do when we make our first steps out? What have we learned that will carry through to us for every decision we make in the future? You know, we are leaving our legacy. This is our one precious life. And I know it had a huge impact on me. And it's one of the reasons I'm taking time off. It's a direct result of what I learned from this experience. And I need time for me to write solitude in a positive, peaceful way. Because even though we were isolating in place, and that was not peaceful.
Oh, no, absolutely.
That's one of the things I wanted to show. This experience was not easy,
right?
Emotionally on any of us. Some more, some harder than others. So I do appreciate it when people say they're going to look at this book and remember, but also remember good things, I hope. You know, because it was the good things that helped me become stronger today.
And there are some very, you know, positive, wonderful things in the book. And I don't think this is a spoiler, but there's one particular scene it's a happy scene that I enjoyed, was the joggling board and the surfing and the competition. That was just such a nice, you know, touch.
And Brenda, it was true. I lived through it. I wouldn't have made it up. My daughter did it.
Really?
Oh, wow.
I did not realize that one. So we have Linnea experience with your house growing full of people experience, and then
my daughter goes, Mama, there's this cool thing, and she shows me this not the joggling board, but the videos that were really popular all over Instagram of surfers who are grounded, couldn't get on beaches, and what they did to try to make it look like they were surfing, and it was a contest. And I came up with a joggling board because I love joggling boards. I've always wanted to put a joggling board, which you have to read the book to know what a joggling board is. It's a Southern, it's a Charleston edifice thing.
Learn something new.
So, you know, to get on it, you're like surfing. So but like I said, I wrote my life. I really did. And that house that I described, that's Emmy's house, is real. I don't know about the murals. That's my imagination. And the beach house exists, by the way, it does. But I know the people, I know the family really well, but I've never gone inside. I've been invited many times. I will now. But up until now, I said, no, it's too public, and I never want to expose anything. I would never want to interfere with their privacy. So I've never told people where it was. And but it exists. And right next door is Emmy's house. All this is for real.
Oh, that's awesome.
But speaking of which, I just wanted to share, I know most of our readers have read it already, but I just wanted to share one really cool thing about the book for those who haven't read it yet. I love these maps.
They show
on Isle of Palms in Sullivan's Island where everything is in the story. And I just wanted to share that for a moment. I know Lisa.
Yes. No, I love the map too.
I'll be honest with you. I've wanted to do it for 20 years and I just never got it done in time. And then also you'll see the houses of the people from the Low Country series. So if you've read Summer Girls, you see those houses as well, Seabreeze. And that's because they all see each other in both books. But I thought, okay, this is my chance. And the family tree, I just loved. They're getting to be a lot of people. You have to kind of know who's who.
It's growing.
Thank you for saying that. I love those too.
Well, I do have a few comments from our members. Marilyn said that the Fab Five, well, I think we all can agree with Marilyn here. She says, the Fab Five was my lifesaver through the pandemic. I've also found so many awesome authors, and I'm so thankful for that.
Thank you for saying that.
And
Yeah.
Denise said one of her new habits is she started reading to her granddaughter on FaceTime during the pandemic. And we have read over 30 novels. Now we read in person and on FaceTime.
I hope you read The
Oh.
Islanders.
Yes, read the
Honestly, that's super
Islanders.
cool. I started doing that with my grandson too, and my granddaughter in Chicago, and it was bedtime. That's really
Oh.
lovely.
I
See,
love
it's one of the
that.
good things that came out.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so interesting in the little ways it shaped us too, because I went to an in-person lunch meeting, board meeting the other day, and people were waving. When you come into the room, people didn't wave a lot before the pandemic. I mean, not at meetings. And then someone said something great, and everybody's doing this, and I'm thinking, this is so funny.
That's new. So this is the new thing.
It's like clapping
Oh
Yes,
my
it's like the
gosh.
silent clap.
the silent clap on
Oh,
Zoom.
I didn't know that. So this is the silent. See, I learned something today.
Oh,
That's so
that's funny.
funny.
I'm also curious to know that, like I was asking, what if it's a book club discussion? I always think one of the things what did you do to stay positive? And just conversations about who did you lose anybody or who got sick or um, what was the hardest part? Illness was definitely a serious concern. But on the flip side of it, what were the strengths that you discovered in yourself? Or did you do something? Like a lot of us were joking, but a lot of people did try starter doughs for sourdough
Oh,
Yeah.
sourdough starters, not starter doughs, sourdough starters. And
I
a lot
did
of
do.
people,
Oh, I'm
did
sorry.
you? No, did
I didn't
you?
do sourdough. I tried regular bread, and I'm not so great at it. I'm just telling.
I
But I
did
did try.
sourdough. It's like nursing a baby. You got to make sure you feed it a little bit. You can't leave it alone. But it was fun to see what people picked up, painting, or a lot of people read. I thought it was interesting how many people couldn't read at the beginning, and I was one of them.
I was too, and I think a lot of our book club members shared that problem in the very beginning. There was
Oh
just a
yeah,
period of time where you're so unsettled, and
yeah.
you have all this time, but it's not. Your brain is. I don't know. My brain just felt really occupied.
I think it was panic
Yeah.
mode, fear.
Yeah.
Hmm.
When you're in fear, you can't kind of quiet down. But that's when I discovered, and I knew audiobooks. I read my own audiobooks, but I always preferred to read print. But during the pandemic, especially April, May, June, those early months when we were all afraid, I listened to audiobooks all the time. And they really saved me.
I
That and
read
Friends and
more
Fiction.
last year than I have in years.
That's what people
I
say.
needed
I did
something to
too.
escape. It was, it takes more time to read than,
Yeah.
watching a movie or something like that. I definitely read more than I normally do, but I also started doing like outside of the box. I did online. It started with my neighborhood. They did an online painting, like watercolor class, and I loved it. So then I started doing like these Zoom painting classes, which were fun. I've never
Wow.
painted before. My grandfather was a painter, but
Oh,
I didn't get that talent, unfortunately.
How
But
do
I
you know?
had
You might. You
I
just have to
had fun
cultivate it.
with it. So I started painting.
I
That's
love
something
that.
new that I did because of the pandemic, and it was very relaxing. But I
Yeah.
read. Reading and Friends and Fiction
Well, Friends
well,
saved
and
me.
Fiction, y'all started the book club.
well, that was a lifeline. I mean, I really, for me, finding that community was
Mm,
the best aspect of it,
Yeah.
and being able to relate to people who are all going through those same experiences, but yet share
yeah.
Hmm.
that love of reading was an amazing experience. And of course, the authors every Wednesday night. I mean, who would have
Yeah.
thought, when you started, that it would have grown
We
to,
didn't.
Right.
podcasts and merchandise. I'm not going to say merch, merchandise.
I
I'm
mean,
going to,
I'm all in amazement. I still am in awe of how big this is getting. And the book club. I honor you both because you
thank
have
you.
almost 8,000, And I know it's a lot to deal with and it's a lot to handle. And you're doing such a great job. So my hat's off to you. And I'm, as an author, I'm grateful to you for having discussions about our books. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
We love talking with you guys.
absolutely.
And you're celebrities now. People know you when you walk in the room.
Lisa's a celebrity.
Oh, both of you. Everyone at
goodness.
Sumter knew who you were.
That's so funny. Well, Lisa, we didn't announce this, but are we going to have spoilers after 7:30?
Yep, it's 7:32. So if any spoiler questions, we don't have any
They come up.
spoiler
Well,
questions come up yet, but
this isn't exactly a spoiler question, but I'm just going to throw it out there since you already touched on it about Linnea and her love triangle. And I understand what you said about, you know, the answer isn't choice A or B for which man, it's any choice. But last year you teased us with, are you Camp Gordon? Are you Camp John?
Yeah.
So I just want to know what you have to say for yourself.
Because I didn't know. I was fishing, Brenda. I was absolutely shamelessly fishing because I wanted to see what y'all wanted to happen. And I'll tell you, it was all Team Gordon.
Yeah.
And I was going for it because I mean, how can you not love? In my mind, Gordon looks like, if anyone has seen Sean, what's his name from Endeavor, the TV series. He's British and he's got this red hair and he's just so beguiling and boyish. And oh, it's such a great, what's his last name? Anyway, watch him. Google Endeavor and you'll see Sean Evans.
Sean Evans.
And so I was leaning, I mean, how could you not? He was in the end of On Ocean Boulevard, he was the Russell Bennett. He and you know, little Linnea looked like Lovey and he was a turtle. So I made a perfect pair. So to not let that continue was a big decision, but I don't know, there's something about a good old low country boy.
Well, you know what, too, in fairness to all the Team Gordons, because I was torn myself, but in all fairness to the Team Gordons, John hadn't shown that side of himself on Ocean Boulevard.
No.
And when he
was a bad guy.
Yeah.
No, he made mistakes. He was a selfish Peter Pan, which is, and I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of them in LA.
So he was just going with the LA vibe. Okay.
It's just they don't ever want to grow up. They don't want commitment, and they're everywhere.
Yeah,
and
they're in Atlanta too.
Yeah, they're everywhere, and we all know that guy who doesn't want commitment. And you love him, and he's adorable, and he says he loves you, and he was he showed her at the door. He did.
He really did, and closed it on her way out. Really, I felt like so
he did, and she couldn't forgive him, which is why I love that she didn't want to see him, and I don't want to have anything to do with you. I've got this other guy.
Yeah, not answering his
text. She was done, and I was kind of leading up to that, but he worked. I just had him work so hard. He surprised even me. You know, with building the birdhouse, and the whole other aspect of the story was getting to know what's in your backyard. I wasn't looking at whales what's in your backyard, the bird feeder. A lot of people in the pandemic paid attention to what birds were in their bird feeders and were enjoying learning the names of things. So I just thought he would be the Boo Radley. Plus, I loved paper airplanes. I really did. So he was my Boo Radley with a happy ending.
And see, he endeared us to him so much with that relationship he fostered with Hope.
Yes.
And how he helped her get through. So I was kind of like, oh, well, maybe John's a good guy.
I know he had to suffer.
Yes.
Well, we've got quite a few Team Johns in the chat. We've got a lot of Team Johns standing up.
I did my job then.
Known.
Thank you all out there. It
A
means I
lot
did
of
my
them.
job. I had to convince, and the scene I think where I really made him like, I wanted to make it so hard was when they were on the fishing boat. Remember those guys were razzing each other? So
Yes,
funny.
they
I
were being
enjoyed
so
it.
macho, so
Yeah.
you know.
My brother helped
Yeah.
me with that scene. I have to be honest. He's a
Manly,
fisherman and
manly.
manly. I mean, I would, what they said, I loved it when Cooper was like, okay, I'm turned off love for life. I'm just ruined. But I think
And
at
yet
the,
he wasn't.
and yet he wasn't. I love, Cooper needs to have a book. I mean,
Yes.
someday. But I loved in the end where it was, she had to tell him. It would have been so easy for after Flo for her just to fall in his arms after he declared spoilers. But she still said no. And I liked that. She wasn't ready. I like strong women. Especially, especially young ones in that. Let's be honest. She's 25 years old. 25. Who, a lot of girls
So young.
don't make decisions at 25. So I think she still has some learning to do.
Well, and to me, she's really an interesting character. And I know this sounds crazy, but like worthy of the Beach House series because she has so many of those traits of loving, and yet
Thank you.
you could see a lot of Kara and her influence in her too. And I don't know how long it takes to develop that in your characters, but it's just fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate. I know these people. I live with them. I mean, I've known them for 20 years. So I'm anxious to see what they do next. I am.
For the influences, because you can see them, is that something you're thinking about when you're writing it, or is that something that just comes naturally?
It's a little of both, to be honest with you. This one in particular, they surprised me. I mean, it's my niece, for example. I know her, and I was living with her, but she made some choices she was a lot more like Anna. Lost, didn't have the family backup, didn't have a decision of what she wanted to do, ended up going back to school, which is actually my niece did. So it's like I did what I was watching, and I loved to see that turn. But usually it's like watching, like I said, your niece, and you know what you hope for them, and you set up the circumstances. As a structuralist author, I know where I have to go. So each character in the story has a job to do. So I let them say things and do things and guide me in different direction. But I herd them back in if they go too far. I don't let them dominate the story. But in this book, I let them surprise me. So that's why I was biting my nails. Is it Gordon or is it John? I didn't know. And I was tearing my hair, dreaming. I didn't know until once I had that understanding about it's not about the man. I had to understand that as the author. Then I went, oh, well, then, especially, I knew Gordon's history in the last book on Ocean Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want.
We all did.
But I didn't want anyone to know about who he was. But he always had that little aloofness. Remember, there's always that little something, and I hinted at it at the beginning. But I actually, when I was in London, knew a Viscount, and that's when the idea came into my head. And you never would have known it when you saw him and I worked with him. It was only in retrospect that I knew. Afterwards, I found out he was a Viscount. I never knew it when I worked with him. He was that academic and charming. I knew he was elegant, and I knew he came from a good family. I knew he was well placed, but I didn't know he was royalty.
And that's how Ladea kind of sees
Yes.
it in hindsight.
Absolutely. It wasn't, and this was happened to me. And so I realized, it could happen. So I
Oh,
put it in.
I was just going to say, you need an index at the end that says, this really happened to this person. This really
You know what's so funny that you say that is that when I write books like what the Skyward is a book about birds of prey, said that every bird and every story with that bird is true. I worked on all of them. So with this book, it's humans. So I'm saying every story with these humans is true. I
well,
worked with them.
that's the species you're studying in this book. So
It was, and it was real time. And that's why I really hope not only is it a continuing story for the beach house, but I really hope that the readers do look at the story and the things they went through and talk about what you went through, because it's in talking about it that's a kind of therapy. And to my mind, there are different kinds of book clubs. And I've been in book clubs 30, 40 years. So I love book clubs. In fact, I wrote a book called The Book Club.
yes.
And
We
and
read it.
the book club, well, there's the book club that gets together, like all the ladies get together and there's wine or lunch and they don't even talk about the book. Not really. Then there's the book club where they have someone very controlled and they discuss it and have a presentation. And it's almost like an academic and they all participate. Then it's over and they talk about the family. Then there's the book club, which is the highest form where it's like you two are friends now. And when you read a book, you trust each other enough to let the experiences in the story elicit confessions or stories in your own life. It's a growing point. Those are the best levels of book club discussions. And it has to be with people you trust because you're opening up and letting your guard down. And I feel that this book, I hope it encourages groups to talk about what did you really remember? What did you go through? Yeah. And by talking about it, that's a kind of therapy. Group therapy in a book. So, absolutely. But it's all, it depends how the group decides to choose to do it. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be funny if you had a book club where everyone had to show up in a mask? You'd laugh now, but that wasn't funny a year ago.
No.
Right?
That's true. And it was sort of unheard of too. It's funny that you touched on book clubs because a couple of our readers did ask you questions in advance about book clubs. Donna Rydell asked about how many book groups you attended, and Brenda Gaskell asked about what rules. And I think you pretty much answered that as far as the types. Yeah. But there's been a lot of interest in that with this book.
Yeah.
I'm not sure though what's the question? They're curious about what I recommend or just what are.
Oh, they were just curious about your background with book clubs.
With book clubs. And yes. Just I've been in Chicago, when I was young and when I was in Chicago as a young mother. And when I wrote the book club, I had just turned 40. And that's what, I don't know how many of you remember the passages by Gail Sheehy. And that's called the second adolescence. It's when a woman, begins to know who she is, and she's not someone's daughter, or she's herself. So I wanted to talk about a book club who discussed books, but you know how you read a good book and it niggles, and you think about it when you're driving the car, and you think about it while you're stirring the sauce. And that's a good book. And then you think about, what do I want to say about that book when I get with the girls? That's a good book club. And, or you even get annoyed if they start drinking too much. You're like, stop, we're not done yet. We want to talk more. There's always the one who's like, we're done. No, we're not done.
That's funny. It's not a book club thing, but I can't remember now which book it was, Lisa, but she had not finished it yet. And I had, and she was reading it late into the night. And I said, I'm telling you, it's going to be 3:00 in the morning and you're going to finish that book and you're going to want to wish you had somebody to talk to about
it. It was Surviving Savannah.
I thought so.
And I did text you at 3:00 in the morning, even though I knew you weren't awake. I still did. I was like, she'll see it when she wakes up in the morning.
Yeah, that's great. That really is. You want to share that thought with somebody.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this will elicit that, because the story is one thing, but because it's the situation and the family going through the things, the fear of death watching out for Flo, who is older. We all were careful of the really older ones, the young ones who are coming back. Who out there had someone come back to live with you? That's a question a lot of us can answer. And it does affect our humanity, how we care for one another, what can I do to help you? And I think that's at the core of the Beach House series, that the Beach House is a place for women to help women. They have support and growth. And it doesn't matter what decision the character makes at the end, but you have faith that she's strong enough to make a decision and act on it. And I think that's the most you can hope for, from any person or any book, that it helps you learn something. I just finished Ordinary Grace by, again, audio book by who I adore, William Kent Kruger. And it's just been lingering in my heart, making me think of families and what we go through and how we suffer together and yet have joy together. And that's a good book. That's a good book club book. Any book that does that.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you. And then after this, I think we want to switch over to the Islanders.
Oh, okay.
So we can talk about that as well. But Rhonda asks, after you finished on Ocean Boulevard, if COVID had not happened, did you have other plans for the next book? Did you alter it because of COVID, or?
I did. Well, I knew it wasn't going to be the whale book. I was probably just going to go off and study them. But there's another species, and I don't want to say what it is yet because I will be writing about them, I'm sure. And there's another species that I wouldn't have had to travel so far, and I've done a lot of work on already. And I was just really itching to go. I needed to go back one more time and to include that in the book. And when that didn't happen, I just didn't feel ready. So I was stymied. I wasn't sure. And I always knew that Beach House book was in the back. But I thought, I just wrote on Ocean Boulevard. I like to usually wait a year or two, but I just went right for it because it was the next generation that I wanted to write about. So it just seemed, like I said, everything dovetailed, and it was not just the right answer, but it was really the only answer that I had at that time.
That's awesome that you were able to do that real time. I know that had to be.
Well, I remember some of the girls in the group saying, oh, I don't think anyone's going to want to read about, anything to do with the pandemic after it's over. And I said, yeah, but it's not about the pandemic. It's a setting. Like, my books are not about turtles or dolphins. They're settings, and that's what I do. And I felt really confident that I could keep it as a setting, but let the story be about the individuals in that family. Mm-hmm. And I just thought it just seemed right. And it was sort of brave, like I said, and a little naive. It could have gone the other way. It could have. But I really think I pulled it off. I mean, I know for me as an author, I feel really confident that I told the story I wanted to tell, but more importantly, I know what I wanted to say.
Right.
And I got it out on the pages, which is to live every day for today, the present, and don't live in the future or the past. Today.
Well, you did a great job with it. And for those people that, are hesitant to read it because it is set in COVID, or they're not ready to read it yet, the good thing is it's not going away. It'll be there. So you can read it in a month or 6 months, or you could read it next year. And like Brenda mentioned earlier, it's really important. It really documented well a part of our history that whenever someone reads it, they'll be able to remember if they lived through it or learn from it. So I think
100%.
it's amazing. I think
it's also like a World War II novel. I mean, I just had Kristen here, and we had a conversation. We're talking about it. It is like a war. I mean, no one wants to go back to World War II.
Right.
But there are insights to be gained.
100%, yes. And that's it.
I wanted to real quickly share another comment from one of our readers in advance, because it just dovetails perfectly with what you just said, Lisa. Debbie Cooperman Stone says, so many people authors wanted to give us an escape, which is fine, but you helped us face it. It's a testament to the legacy of the whole series and the theme of who we were
Oh,
at this time,
thank you.
feeling,
Wow.
being
Thank
lost,
you.
and then found. So I think that kind of
Thank
says
you.
it all.
Oh, can you
Thank you,
type that
Debbie.
up and send it, Debbie?
I
I
will.
I would love to keep that.
Okay.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. I'm honored by that comment. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, yay. Well, on a, I don't even know how to segue, but that was second. On
I know,
a
it was so powerful.
on a younger middle grade
Yeah.
vibe,
Yeah. Let's unplug, girls.
let's switch over to your fabulous
Yeah.
and wildly popular book, The Islanders.
What a surprise. I mean, I knew this was like the beach house for me, where I knew I was writing something that I had to say, and I've been holding in my heart for a long time. And then boom, it hit so big that it was here. Isn't, and look at that cover. Of course,
I love that cover.
Those turtles are adorable.
I mean, they could have been really bad, and I looked at them and I thought, they did it. And the other thing that's interesting for middle grade books, look, there's no words on the back. Usually in adult novels, we have all the quotes, but I love that you get that panoramic view of the cover is just so great.
I love it.
And I knew when I wrote a middle grade book what I wanted to say about not just unplug is a new word. For me, it was just getting kids outdoors and connected to nature. And I did that with my kids up on the farm in Vermont. And I did everything that Honey did in the book, where she, my kids, I made, and the nieces and nephews came. I was like Camp Cruzy was my married name. And we're all up there. I had all my sisters-in-laws and sisters dumped their kids with me up at this big old mountain house. And I just made a camp, let's make a camp. And so they slept late, which was great because I used to go right till like 5 a.m. till they woke up. And then we had camp where they learned things. We went out, we went hunting, we went hiking, we learned directions. We did all this outdoor stuff. We shoveled a lot of sheep dung. That was our work, our time, because sheep have byproducts. And there were cows and other animals too, but the kids loved it. But whenever kids visited, cousins came to visit from the city, whether it was in Florida, Chicago, New York, or wherever, that invariably, especially if they were like 10, we're bored. There's nothing to do here. Because there was no TV. We had a VHR with 3 cassettes. We had Young Frankenstein. Never Ending Story. And I wish I could remember the third one. But
That's a classic.
I mean, they can quote that verse. But what I did was teach the kids to get outdoors. You bored? Good. Go find something to do. That's what my mama told me. That's what I told my kids. Yeah, come back. I'll call you when dinner's ready. I'll call you for lunch. Just get out there and find something to do. And it's purposeful parenting. It means you know what you want those kids to do, and you don't get intimidated by their I'm bored or I don't want to do it. You know what's best for your kids. And I knew what was best for them was to get outdoors and explore and learn the names of things. So when I wrote this, when I was asked to write a series, it was an easy yes. And then I went to Angela May, who has been my right arm assistant for 10 years. And I trusted her. And I don't think I wasn't sure I could co-write a book for an adult novel. I'm too tight, but I thought I could with children's book. I give it a try. So I asked her just out of the blue, and she starts to cry. Aww. Because she said it was her lifelong dream to write a children's book. Oh. So that's serendipity. And we both, this island exists. It's Deweese Island. It's a real place off Isle of Palms, accessible only by boat. That's what's so great about it. This little island is for real. No cars, no stores. You have golf carts. And for these group of kids, especially this little boy, Jake, no Wi-Fi because his grandma doesn't believe in it. Because I had to get rid of, he loses his phone at the beginning and over the edge of the boat. It's like, no. Oh my God, girls, when I spoke to a group of, gosh, Angela and I spoke to a couple hundred, maybe 300 in a room. I think it was more than that. It was more like 400. They were all there, middle grade kids. And when I told the story of the boat lurching on his way to on the ferry, the phone slides off the edge and goes. The whole audience, all the kids went, no. They just the threat of it. And so I thought, bingo.
You got it.
No. And what's really great, what I loved writing is these kids were bored. They didn't want it, but they became pretty fast friends. The only kids on the island, and they learned to just explore and have fun. And they got in trouble. But anyway, the response has been amazing. And I think what it is, it's timing. Because I knew it was a good book, but number 2 is a pretty high number to debut. And also I told you on Wednesday, I'm having interviews, and I think this unplugging, especially now after the year of being plugged in all the time with COVID, and all parents are concerned about how much their kids are on the computers and how much they're on their phones and how we're not eating dinners together. And we're always, someone's got that darn phone in their face all the time. Yeah. That I think the timing of the message is what is carrying the book to a new level and is surprising me. And I'm humbled by it, but overjoyed because it's such an important message that I hope to, I'll be continuing it with the future books. There will be more.
It really is interesting because both of those books were very timely and, well, of course, yes. Summer Lost and Found, that was the backdrop, but the Islanders, I think it did hit a chord with people who had become so plugged in, and they had to find alternate ways of entertaining their kids, and bicycle sales went up and trail hiking went up, all of those things. So it's just an interesting trajectory.
It's in our DNA to get outdoors and explore. That is how we survived as a species. And so you're looking at a group of us now who've been indoors, trapped, isolated for so long that we are literally starving for it, to get out and explore, travel. And I think part of it, though, is the other side, which I want to point to, that is not just traveling, it's unplugging. Because you can do just as much blah living in Paris, France, if you're sitting there with your phone or your computer as in your own backyard. It's unplugging and exploring and getting out and welcoming not just the sun on your face and the breeze, but it opens you up. Okay, it opens you up. And if it's opening us as adults, imagine the kids.
And that's a lesson that I had to learn, and I'm still learning. I have to unplug because I am the go, work. Any free moment, I feel like
it's a trap.
Forgetting something. I'm supposed to be doing something. I can't be doing nothing. What am I doing?
It's called the hamster wheel.
I'm the queen of it, and I have.
But it's not even your fault. It's like you get caught up. And you don't know how to get off because you feel if you do, you're going to drop something. And in the end, what happens is you start dropping everything.
Yep.
And it's research, there's really clear research, which I'm going to be writing more about, that my husband's a psychiatrist, child psychiatrist in particular, and he's doing a lot of work for me to try and bring me the evidence. But the research is really clear that for adults and children, that if you do unplug for a while, when you come back, you're stronger, your synapses are firing sharper, you're able to get more done than if you just kept plugging away. So think about that. Yeah. And it's just letting go of that sense of, I will fail if I don't. No, you will fail if you don't take care of yourself. It's true.
Wow, that is so fascinating. And I love hearing about the research that you're that you're working on now. That's really exciting. And I can't believe it, but it's already been an hour already. That
I
the book club has
know.
just flown by. I know we had a lot of questions, and we had a lot of questions that we
I'll
answered
come
just
back.
in the course of discussion. But I know Lisa has a few announcements right now before we close. And
I do. But
could you?
I kind of want to ask, can we squeeze one more question about the Islanders? Is that okay?
I'm your guest. I do what you tell me to do.
Go for it, Lisa.
We have a question from Diana, and she says, how did you work your co-writing? Did you take turns each chapter, or did
Mm.
you work together through the chapters? And then, how did that work for you?
Yeah, it was a learning process because neither of us had done it before. And it was a little bit of both. We came up with, I mean, I knew the story idea, the concept about unplugging, and because I'd done it with my kids. And Deweese was the location that we both knew and we loved. And so that was easy. We set up a structure of and we're doing it again now. We knew the outline and it changed a lot, but not like this is chapter 1, chapter 2, but just the story flow. But it took us 4 years to write the book. So over the course of 4 years, the characters and everything changed. And that was, she comes over all the time anyway, because she works here. But we would set aside a day just to talk about the book and tear it apart. So it was, the ideas were shared, but the writing was back and forth, to answer your question.
Wow.
But ultimately at the end, though, I was the senior writer, and this was her first book. And Angela's, one of the great things about working with Angela, she understands that she was learning a lot too. And it was so easy. It was not a fight. It was a, hey, what about this? And she'll laugh and tell you about how I changed things around. And she was like, oh. I said, but then it works because I've done it for 35 years. So I know how to do this. But because she trusted me, it worked. Because I trusted her, it worked.
Well, it definitely did, and it's such a success. And people of all ages, not just middle grade children, absolutely love this book.
Can I just add, I know you're running late, but I just want to say it is true that some of the most sparking, what I call spark books, are ones we read in middle grade.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a lot of, the ones you remember and still love today. And middle grade concepts or storylines are pretty tough. Like we had the grandmother's depressed. That was a real issue. But it's how you tell the story in pacing, language, everything else is middle grade. So I do know adults love it too. And thank you for saying that.
We do. And thank you so much for taking time and joining us tonight.
It was fun. I had a blast. Thank you.
We always
a
love
pleasure.
having you. Yeah. I have a few announcements. You can get Mary Ellis's, both of her books, The Islanders and The Summer of Lost and Found, and the other Friends and Fiction author books at Foxtail Bookshop, which is my favorite local bookstore in Atlanta. And that's the Friends and Fiction Independent Bookstore of the Week. And make sure you tune in to Friends and Fiction on Wednesday night. They will have Vanessa Riley on, and they will be discussing this lovely novel, Island Queen, and that's at 7 o'clock on Wednesday. Our next book club discussion is on August 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and we will be chatting with Kristen Harmel about The Forest of Vanishing Stars. So we hope you can join us for that. Brenda, do you want to share about our big event?
Would love to, Lisa. I just wanted to make sure everyone is aware of our exciting Friday night adventure where we have our 1-year anniversary for our book club, which is just unbelievable that we've had a whole year of
we honor you. We honor you.
So we're excited about that. We're going to have some surprises and a giveaway for those who are on live and all kinds of fun. So we hope you can join us Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern for our 1-year anniversary.
Are you going to dress up? Should we? gowns and fascinators and pearls and
Ooh.
diamonds, or
You know, that has not been discussed as of yet, Mary Alice, but we might have. Since our luau was such a hit, maybe we
wasn't
need to
it?
think
Yes.
about it.
That
You
was
know what?
so
We should all
fun.
dress up. I'm definitely going to be, but we should all dress up a little bit. Wear
Yeah.
something cute because it is, after all, a celebration.
We
You're
definitely
going to have
should
champagne, of
celebrate.
course.
Yes,
You
I
got to
definitely
have
will.
champagne.
We should have all of our previous cocktails and mocktails that we've created.
Oh, yes.
That's
You've
a
made a
long,
lot of good
funny.
ones.
long list.
Well, Mary Alice, I just want to tell you, I normally sort of close myself, but I wanted to share yet another just really insightful comment from a reader before we ask you for some final words. But Mary Zick McGinnis on our book club page said something just very touching. She said, Mary Alice, wishing you the best during your sabbatical. May the joy you give to others through your work be returned to you tenfold during this.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
we
You
thank
know,
you for
I
your.
missed, it's hard to take a sabbatical. I knew I needed to take a sabbatical. And I think that goes back to the whole discussion we had tonight.
Mhm.
And everyone knows when that time, plus I'm going to go to places that has no Wi-Fi. So
You're going to be the Islanders.
I will be on Doris actually writing, but I'm going to go off other places. And it's just hard to take your brain away from when you're in the water with a huge whale. You can't like jump out and say, I got to make a phone call. It's a different life. So
Mhm.
it's going to be interesting, and I will miss you. And I loved Island Queen, by the way, and I will be thinking of y'all on Wednesday night. But I will be here Friday.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, we look forward to that. And it's been such a
Thanks.
pleasure talking with you tonight, Mary Alice, about the Summer of
Thank
Lost and
you.
Found and the Islanders.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much. And thank you all for coming who came tonight.
Thanks, everybody.
you.
Happy reading.
Good night.
Take care. Good night.